The next Art to Remember option is to create these gemstone crystal artworks. The first thing I will do is I'll draw out my crystal shape. The first step to drawing this crystal is to create a zigzag jagged line from one edge of the paper to the other. Then I'm going to create my little gem crystal tower. So I'm going to start by making the very top with an upside down V, and then I'm going to make a smaller V on the inside that is a little bit longer. Then I'm going to connect all these lines to make almost an umbrella shape. And then with a ruler or just by freehand, I'm going to draw a line connecting one point from my umbrella shape to one of the points on my zigzag line at the bottom. And this will create your gemstone crystal shape. I'm going to repeat this on the other side, making my wide V, then making a longer one in the middle, connecting those lines together, and then connecting the points of my umbrella shape at the top to my zigzag lines at the bottom. And then if you don't have a space to connect, you can just hide it behind the other crystal. And here I'm just going to make another crystal behind the others with the same step, but it doesn't connect to the points, it just kind of hides behind the other crystals. If you want to, you can even create some small crystals on the sides. And I'm doing the same step of making the top, connecting to the bottom. And you can do different shapes with the small ones. It doesn't have to look exactly like the larger ones. To make the bottom look rocky, I'm going to make some small triangles and just kind of connect some of the lines of my zigzags at the bottom. And this part is kind of up to you. You could skip this step if you wanted. Next, I'm going to trace over all of my pencil work with a Sharpie. I suggest if you're going to trace with a marker, make sure it's an alcohol-based marker. That way when you do the watercolor step, the marker doesn't bleed into your paints. One thing I wanted to add, it seemed a little plain, so I wanted to add some kind of shining glitter sparkles above the crystals. So I'm doing some stars and some little dots in the negative space. And then below I'm doing a little bit of hatching, which is creating lines to add value to make it look rocky or almost crater-like. It almost has like an outer space look to it. This part is optional. If it doesn't look like something you would do, you can skip it. And every day is a good day when we paint, so let's start painting. So first I'm going to wet my brush in my water. And there's different ways that you can blend colors. This first technique I'm doing is wet on wet painting, where I'm wetting my paper first with just water. Then I'm going into my color, and I'm going to set the color on top of the wet paper. So it's wet paint on wet paper is wet on wet painting. And this creates a nice smooth transition from one color to the other. So I lay down my green, and then I'm also going to lay down some blue. I almost wanted my crystals to look like emerald. And I lay down the next color. I'm rinsing off my brush when I'm done with that, and I'm just wiggling back and forth in between the two colors to make a blue-green connection, to kind of transition from green to blue. Another thing you can do is you can just go straight into your paints, which is wet on dry painting. So it's dry paper with wet paint on top. And this will make the colors a little bit darker, but they don't blend as smoothly. And that's okay. That might be a better look for your gemstones. I did a little bit of both, so it's up to you how you would like to paint your gemstones. And when you're painting, a tip that I have for you is don't paint everything in one area at a time. So I worked on one crystal, I hopped to another section, and then painted that section. I hopped to another crystal, painted a section, and I just keep bouncing around until my paper is all full. And I'm doing the same technique, putting down some green, putting down some blue, and blending them together. If you want to, you can wet the paper first to get a smoother transition. And that's it. Let's make some awesome art.